I've heard a story about Lin-Manuel Miranda and the creation of Hamilton. What I heard is he was reading a biography about Hamilton, and he suddenly had this realization of, this should be a musical. And I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda. I can make it a truly excellent musical. And he did. In the first episode of Joan Deserves a Musical, I talked about my experience, which is actually kind of a lot like Lin-Manuel Miranda's experience, except I'm not Lin-Manuel Miranda. I can't write music. I've never created a musical before. So I'm having this experience. I'm studying Joan of Arc. I'm becoming obsessed with her story, and I'm convinced that it needs to be told as a musical. And not just any musical, an animated musical like Disney used to put out in its Renaissance. And I'm not an animator. So here's this idea that's come to me that I feel woefully unqualified to fulfill, but it just won't leave me alone. I can't stop thinking about it. I'm having ideas of how it should go. I'm researching Joan. I'm putting together an outline. I'm having a lot of ideas, but I cannot create this by myself. And so I did some research on how musicals were made during the Disney Renaissance era, and it turns out that, like in the case of Hunchback of Notre Dame, what happened is Disney decided they wanted to do Hunchback of Notre Dame. Some of their producers there kind of did some research, went and visited Paris, read the book, decided, we're going to cut it here so we don't have this tragic stuff. This is kind of the scope of the project. And then they go to Alan Menken and they say, hey, we want to do Hunchback as a musical. Here's kind of the scope of it. See what you can do with it. Alan Menken then writes all the songs. And in some cases, he would write more songs than they needed. Not sure if they would all be used. And then those songs went to Disney, and Disney would give them to the animators to storyboard with and to rough out the story. And then the last step was writing a script. Music first, storyboard second, script last. Now, I do consider myself a writer. I've been a passionate writer, a compulsive writer most of my life, and I have written many creative things. And I feel like I could write a script, right? I'm so full of passion for the story of Joan of Arc that I'm pretty sure I could do that piece. But that's the last step. Right? And it's not going to be a musical if it doesn't have any songs in it. So I decided I needed to find myself a songwriter. I'd been thinking about this for a few months. I kind of had the story and the vision. It existed in my mind in a way that was coherent enough I could share with someone. I needed to find myself a songwriter, and I didn't know how to do that. But I thought, Joan is, a Catholic girl. So maybe if I could find a Catholic songwriter, they would be willing to talk to me about this project. And I'm not Catholic. I am religious, but I'm not Catholic. And so I Googled one day Catholic pop stars. And I found one of these listicle blog posts that's like 50 Catholic recording artists to add to your worship playlist. And it was just name, embedded YouTube video. Name, embedded YouTube video for like 50 or however many. And so one night I'm washing dishes, and I have that pulled out on my phone, and I just hit play on a video and wash some dishes, and hit play on a video and wash some dishes. And I heard a lot of great music, but as I said in the first episode of Joan Deserves a Musical, I really want this to be upbeat. I want it to be lighthearted. I want it to be inspirational. And a lot of what I was hearing on this playlist was very beautiful, but very somber, very reverent kind of music, which is not the tone I'm going for. I did hear a few that got my toes tapping, and I had kind of a mental short list. Oh yeah, that one. Had 3 or 4 I liked. But somewhere near the bottom of the list was listed a person with a video, and I hit play, and here she is sitting at her piano, and she gives a little introduction saying, this song my grandfather liked. I'm like, okay, and I go back to washing dishes. And then she began to sing, and it was the most incredible experience. I don't even know how to describe it. It was not the upbeat song I was looking for, but it also wasn't this super reverential, somber sort of music. It was somehow joyful and subdued at the same time, and she sang with such passion, and her voice was so gorgeous that I stopped washing dishes, and I dried my hands on my pants, and I walked over to see who is this person. And this person was named Amanda Vernon. I'd never heard of her before, but I was just transported by this song she sang. And so I started looking her up, and I discovered that she is a mother of 4, that her husband works as her manager, and that they as a family are making her artistic career work, right? She is able to support them through her music and her touring. Seems like she's very popular at Catholic youth camps, kind of that circuit. She's on Spotify. She's on YouTube. She's not, millions of listens everywhere, right? Like, there's no way I'm going to be able to secure Elton John or like Sarah Bareilles, but like she is clearly a vetted, a very capable, a proven artist, and at the same time is accessible enough that maybe she would respond to random outreach from a random guy, right? So I find her website, and there's a contact us form, and it's just, put your email here and put in some text. And I stare at that empty text, and I was like, where do I even begin? And then I had an idea. I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to be able to convey this in writing, certainly not in the short space I'm given. I'll record a video. So similar to these videos you're watching here, I just hit record in my living room one day on my webcam, and I just talked to Amanda Vernon and painted this picture of why I think Joan deserves a musical, why I think she should write the music for it, and how she and I as a team could maybe create something really cool. I was hoping it would be a short video. It ended up being a 10-minute video, and I uploaded it to a video sharing program, so it was private, and dropped a link into that contact us form, right? I said, hey, Amanda, I figure a short video is better than a long email. Here's sort of an unconventional project I want to pitch to you, and the link. I sent it off, really with no clear expectation of where we might go from there, what might happen. Not even sure I'd get a response. But the video software I used to host the video let me see how many views it had. And I believe I sent it to her on a Friday. Over the course of the weekend, there was 1 view. And then there were 2 views. And then early the next week, I got a message back from David, her husband/manager. And he said, hey, Kyle, thanks so much for reaching out. I watched the video, really liked it. I sent it along to Amanda. She watched it. She really liked it. She would like to discuss this further with you, which was more than I ever imagined, right? And so it took a little time, but we figured out a time to meet over Zoom. And we met over Zoom. And I told her the story about like drawing my hands on my pants. I was just so excited to meet her, that we were having this conversation, that someone, a real professional out in the world, someone in the industry was taking my idea seriously enough to give me time. And I was so grateful. And then she said, basically, now let me tell you a story. And it turns out, as luck would have it, Joan of Arc is Amanda Vernon's lifelong childhood hero. She's read Mark Twain's novelization of Joan's life several times. She went to college at a place that had a recreation of a chapel Joan prayed in, with a life-size statue of Joan out front. And Amanda, a first-generation college student, as she's being dropped off by her parents, her father puts his hand on Joan of Arc's shoulder and says, Amanda, just be this. And Amanda tells me, this story means so much to me. Joan of Arc is a very important figure in my life, and I've always wanted to do a Joan of Arc project, but I haven't had one to work on, and so I was very interested that you reached out to me. And this felt like a moment where this idea that existed out in the world suddenly felt much bigger than something that could possibly be happening in my mind. It felt larger and more orchestrated and more grandiose and important than just a conversation happening between 2 people on a Zoom call. And I'm reminded, Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, gave my all-time favorite TED Talk, where she talks about ideas as things that exist outside of us and choose us, right? And in that moment, I felt that must be true. This idea of Joan of Arc having a musical, for whatever reason, chose me. And again, I'm not an animator, and I'm not a musician, but now I have a musician interested. And so Amanda says, can't guarantee I can take this on, but I'm looking at a lot of priorities, and this is in the mix. Do you have a plan for how this might get made? And I said, no, I do not. But you're interested, and I'm interested. So you just stay put. I'll go find us an animation studio. And so that was the first victory, the first big milestone in my quest to give Joan the musical she deserves. And in a future video, I will tell you about the quest to find an animation studio to bring her to life.